Um, those fuckers are creepy. And so I looked up online. I was like, what is the best, like most efficient, um, like order to read all of these books in? And I looked it up, and it was like, hey, uh, read these books, and read these like graphic novels. And I was like, all right, I'll do that. And so I did. And at this point, I've been doing this for like 2 years, over 2 years actually, and I'm like maybe halfway through the list. Um, the list is so long. It's not so much that the list itself is long, but the books that are on the list are so long. Um, they include all of his, longest novels. The Stand, It, Insomnia, um, Salem's Lot is on there. That's a bit of a longer one. And it's just, oh, come on. Sweet. Um, but I really enjoy it, especially once I get to. Oh, now I have to get out of here without dying. Once I get to like read a main series book, it's really enjoyable. Where the fuck do I? Oh. Anyway. So yeah, the main series books are way more enjoyable once you have the context of, all these other books around it, rather than just reading through the 7 Dark Tower books, 8 technically, um, you know, by themselves. And it just makes it feel like a whole, like a very large universe. I mean, that's kind of the point, I guess. It's like comparable to the Marvel universe, I think, where you could, just watch the Avengers movies and get a good experience, and you could get the gist of the story and everything, but you don't get the whole, like, all of the emotional connections and all of the character arcs and everything that you could possibly get out of the entire series. And the crazy thing is there's so many connections that are made that, like, they were made before the Dark Tower was ever even thought of, which just kind of goes to show that, like, it lends itself to his ability as a writer, that he can find these connections that maybe weren't even there to begin with, and then consciously make a very cohesive and realistic world out of them. So right now I've read a lot of books in that series, but I've not read a lot of the main series books. I'm on what is the fourth one? Wizard and Glass. Um, the one about Roland's childhood, which is I think Roland's childhood is a fantastic, like, part of the game, like, game, part of the books, because I had read previously these, like, I don't know if they're graphic novels or like comic books or something like that, you know, showing the backstory of Roland in Gilead and like the fall of Gilead and all that shit. And Susan and basically why he is who he is. And it just adds so much to that character. There's so much to the I mean the world specifically, but Roland as a character is just like so fleshed out and very well written. What? All the characters are very well written. And there's like one of the characters from Salem's Lot is a very important character in the 5th book, I think. I haven't gotten that far because Wizard and Glass is the 4th book. But like that's an example of that connection was made. You know, like Salem's Lot, like I said, was only his 2nd novel, and I mean, he was not thinking about making this giant overarching universe when he was writing Salem's Lot. So he took this character whose fate in Salem's Lot was left unknown, basically, and added him into this overarching story. And he plays a very important role, apparently. That's all I know, is that he's in it and he's an important character. Like I said, I haven't actually read the book that he is introduced in.
Access granted.
In the Dark Tower. I mean, obviously I wrote Salem's Lot, but...
Biometric mismatch detected. Scanning.
Oops.
Unauthorized personnel confirmed. Expulsion to commence in 5.
But I was really excited for the remake of the It movies. For one, because I was a pretty big fan of the original miniseries, which is, I think, what got me started on Stephen King in the first place. Because I used to stay at a friend's house, and we would watch the original, you know, miniseries, and I was like, oh, that's fucking scary. And, you know, I knew who Stephen King was, but I didn't really, like, I didn't know much about his writing. I just knew he was like a horror author. And then I was in the library, like I said, in high school, and I was looking at books to read, and I was like, I think I want to start reading like Stephen King, because, you know, everybody says he's like super good writer and all this. I could get some rocket launcher kills here. Oof! Did that even... That probably didn't even give me a thing. But, man, I keep losing my train of thought. Yeah, the It movies, that's where I was going. I was super excited, like... I couldn't believe that they were remaking It, because I was like, man, this is like my favorite Stephen King story ever, and it's finally gonna get like a, you know, a very faithful, you know, movie adaptation, not like a mini series, you know, a made-for-TV mini series at that. Like, it's gonna get a movie treatment, and it's gonna be rated R, and it's gonna be fucking brutal. That's what I was really excited about,
Demonic
because
presence
they could
at
show that,
proximity
you know,
levels. Lockdown.
fucked up stuff that happens in the book. And I remember I was so hyped. I was like, I was geeking over the trailer, and the first time I watched the trailer, I got chills from it. I remember that specifically. Um, and so when I finally got the chance to go watch the movie, it came out on my birthday. I think it was my 22nd birthday. So me and my friend Derek, uh, and maybe someone else. Me, Derek, and maybe our other friend Megan went. And I remember that first scene where Pennywise rips Georgie's arm off. I was fucking, like, my jaw was on the fucking floor when that happened. It was so cool. And I was like, because it sets the stage for, like, the entire rest of the movie. And it was just so unexpected. Nobody knew what to expect from that scene, because everybody was kind of, you know, didn't want to get their hopes up, because, you know, remakes kind of have a bad rap for fucking up a movie. And there are some people who, you know, really loved the original miniseries. I liked it because I had watched it when I was a kid, but I mean, it wasn't great. It wasn't bad by any means, but it was very cheesy. It was very 90s, like, especially the second half with the adults. I mean, it was just so cheesy. So when you get that kind of, you know, treatment with this book who's got this bad, not bad, it's got this reputation for being, like, very, like, brutal and scary, and it doesn't have that cheese factor of the 90s, and you get, like, a very, very R-rated film. It was just like, it was the moment where you knew that you were getting what you wanted out of it, I guess. So, like, I don't know. I guess it's just, that was the moment where I knew that it was going to be a good movie, or it was at least going to be, you know, it wasn't going to cheap out on the horror and the scares and the violence, especially. Although I think that was the most violent part of the movie. But I mean, I still love the movie. I saw it in theaters 4 times. I loved that fucking movie. And I was really excited for the second one too. Now the second one is not as good. Like, I gotta itch my armpit. Not even anywhere near as good. Like, I thought it was acceptable. You know, it was serviceable for a sequel, but it wasn't anywhere near the quality of the first one, and it was disappointing that, you know, it kind of fell flat. But I also think that the adult moments are just not as compelling as the you know, the childhood parts, just because, I mean, being adult is boring, like, and you have all these nuances, especially in the book, where it's just like, well, maybe it's just me having grown up in a small town, and the book is set in a small town, obviously. But it was just like so many times where you're just like, I could see myself you know, 15 years ago doing what these kids are doing. And it just makes it a lot better, especially the ending. Like, it's such a it's weird to say, but it's such a like heartwarming story at the end of the day. Like, obviously there's a bunch of terror, and a bunch of death, and just very horrific things. But it's a story of, you know, growing up and just, you know, I think pretty much everyone could relate to it, at least to some extent. And that, I think, is a sign of a good book or a good story, is one that, you know, everyone can find some kind of enjoyment from it, even if you're not really into horror. I mean,
demonic presence.
all right.
Lockdown disengaged.
But I do think the book is not for everybody, especially with some certain scenes with the kids in the sewers later on. But the movie, I think it's almost not even a horror movie. It is a horror movie, but it's just, there's not a lot of jump scares, and it just works very well. And there's a lot of funny moments and a lot of moments where you're just like, just remembering what it's like to be a kid. Ah, man, I just love that. I love everything about it. I wasn't planning on going on a fucking 45-minute Stephen King rant, but yeah, that's what you get sometimes. I love Stephen King too. I think it's so cool that he's built this entire universe out of his books. Like, I like that a lot. It kind of goes back to, like, my favorite band is Coheed and Cambria, and they've done the same thing with their music. Like, all of their albums except for one, you know, are built around this narrative, this comic book series, and the songs are all, you know, they're singing about what's happening in the story.
Few have ever seen the stone.
I just like that connectivity.
If you came to us for a reason, you might be able to see something in it we haven't.
It is not a mistake that he has come into our possession. The demons prophesied his return. If he awakes, it could jeopardize the entire mission, for he is the only one who can stand against them.
Attention to all Lazarus personnel. There will be an
Is it my game? It seems like seemed like it was acting up. Maybe I'm just weird. hate you, Pinky. I also really like... What's up, Peter? I also really like Clive Barker. He's a little less... I don't think he's as good of a writer as Stephen King. I think he definitely... he's a little more on the nose with a lot of his subjects. I've only read a couple of his books. Oh, sorry, I had to adjust my headset. I've read a couple of his books. For those of you who don't know, he wrote oh, what was that book called?
Demonic presence at unsafe levels. Lockdown.
The Hellbound Heart, which is the story of Hellraiser. It's literally just Hellraiser. Hellraiser, I think, is like, it adds a little bit to the story. I mean, obviously it adds a lot because there's like 9 fucking Hellraiser movies. But I mean, the very first movie is based off of the Hellbound Heart by Clive Barker. Oh, that's what it is. Hold on. Demons come more glory kill friendly. Yeah, I don't want that. But I read Hellbound Heart and I read what is that book called? Everville, which is, I think it's technically the second book in a series, but I read Everville first because I kind of read that it was like, it works fine as a standalone book, but also like the library that was in my town when I was, you know, reading all these books, it only had like 3 Clive Barker novels, so I just read Everville, you know, before I read the first book in the series. I actually haven't read the first book in the series, but Everville was good. Like, I really enjoyed that. It was very it was like gory, but also very Lovecraftian and like cosmic. You know, he came up with all these like different, I don't know if you want to call them dimensions or worlds. I think they're technically dimensions, but I can't really even remember that much about it now that I'm thinking about it. I do remember specifically there was like a shit snake, which was very strange to me. Like an evil snake made out of poop. I could be remembering that wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's in the book. It's very strange, but I mean, that's not the strangest thing about that book, for sure. Like, the main character is like a fucking gargoyle thing, and he falls in love with some girl, and they have kids or something. I don't remember. It's a really strange book. It's really good, but it's just very, you have to be very open-minded when it comes to that kind of literature. Do I like Orson Scott Card? I like Ender's Game. I've read... What the fuck is that book called? Hold on. Am I just... I'm running through the game and I'm not getting the secrets. So I'm missing an Elite Guard. Elite Guard right there. Do I have the auto map, data log? Rune Trial. I'm missing Rune Trial 1. I liked Ender's Game a lot. We read it in high school, and I read it again when I was a little bit older. I liked it better the second time. And then I read Speaker of the Dead, or Speaker for the Dead, which is a sequel to Ender's Game. And I liked that quite a bit too. But I mean, it was very different than Ender's Game. And that's all I've read by Orson Scott Card.
Olivia activated the hell wave
I know he's very outspoken,
I did hope you could
like
rise above their
homophobe.
I was wrong. She proved
So that kind of sucks. But I mean, I don't think that I think you should separate the art from the artist, if I'm being honest. Because like one of my favorite authors is H.P. Lovecraft, and he was a fucking crazy racist. Like he hated black people. And I mean that he's not a good person, but I mean his stories are great. And maybe that's, I mean, I'm sure a lot of people would say that you shouldn't enjoy media by, you know, someone that shares those kind of that has those kinds of views, but yeah, it's whatever. Ender's Shadow is, which one is that? Is that the one after Speaker for the Dead? Ender's Shadow, wasn't there a series of books from Bean's perspective? Or something like that? Was that Ender's Shadow? What the hell was in here? Huh. Oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense. I heard that Ender's Shadow, that series, is actually like better overall than the Ender's series. I don't remember where I heard that, but how the fuck do I get out of here? Yeah, I would definitely be interested in reading both series, actually. 'Cause I mean, I know that Speaker for the Dead is considered like not very good because it deviates so much from the original one. But I liked it quite a bit. I thought the world was very well realized. I was talking earlier for like 45 minutes about Stephen King's Dark Tower series and like all the books that connect to that and stuff. I like the idea of reading like an entire series, but I just don't I don't want to start another series until I finish that one. I know I'm not going to finish that one for a long time. There's a combat drone. There's a hatch on the floor that I can open.